In this video, I'm going to show you how to use these 12-volt off-road lights from Amazon in your Lightshow. How's it going, everyone? My name is Edwin from Cross Creek Lights. Today we're going to talk about our 12-volt off-road lights that we use in our Lightshow. So these are actually just 12-volt off-road lights that we bought on Amazon. You can buy them in packs of like 2, 4, 6. These you can go ahead and dim up and down. You can strobe them, flash them, but they only flash white. So what we do is we point these out towards the cars, out towards the street, but we make sure that they're on an angle where they're still hitting like our sidewalk, so they're not blinding our neighbors' houses that are across the street. This controller that we're using is also from Amazon and is just a cheap DMX receiver or controller type thing that takes a DMX signal, and it's mainly used for LED tape in production stages, stuff like that, or houses of worship, etc. And we're actually going to kind of modify it a little bit. It doesn't hook up the correct way on how you would for RGB, red, green, blue. We're going to use that to our advantage here, and we're just going to make sure that it turns the power on and off, on and off, and that's how it controls the light. So let's go ahead. I'm going to jump over to the bench here. I'm going to show you the controller, how it's hooked up, and then we'll go ahead and hop into Xlights here, and I'll show you how that is set up as well. All right, so here we are. This is the controller box here. I'm just gonna go ahead and maneuver this here so you can kind of see it. I have 8 of these outputs coming out here. Actually, only 7 here. So what we can go ahead and do, these are just the X-Connect ends. I went ahead and marked them with red tape just to know that this is just power coming out of here. And then once we push that aside here, I'm going to go ahead and show you the off-road light. I just have a male pigtail here. All right, and then that's just kind of soldered right into here, and then I just have this mount here to mount them. Let me go ahead and give you one of these just kind of uncut, and I'll show you how I solder that.
20 minutes later.
So this is a new one here. This one just has stripped ends. So I went ahead and just soldered the black to the black and the red to the red on the just pigtail, the male pigtail here. And then I just went ahead and did the same on the other end to the controller. Let's go ahead and take this box apart and I can show you more. So this is the DMX controller I was showing you here. This is the input, and that's where I marked XLR. I did cover this one. This one's an output, but I will be using that next year. This is an optional power in, I believe, but we're not going to be using that. Over here, you'll see the dip switches. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this. So for our current setup, we're going to be using number 1, and then the rest of them are going to be pushed up. This is going to program it so it's in a DMX mode. The rest of them has like a test mode, so I believe if I push this up, it'll go ahead and just start flashing, stuff like that. Right here, I have a 350 watt Meanwell power supply, 12 volt, and that is running all of this. So let's go ahead and get this pulled out of here, and I can show you the insides of it on how it's wired.
2 hours later. Many months later.
Cables wrapped around my lights here.
6.5 hours later.
So, this is it here. Let me go ahead and disconnect this. Oh, this looks like this broke. This was just a 3D printed bracket. It was printed in PLA, so it wasn't meant to last in the cold, and it didn't. But this is a box, original box. So I just Velcroed this to this. This is the actual controller here. This first one here is just power. And so you can see power input. I did my V plus, my V negative, just in here coming from this Meanwell 350 watt. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and unplug these. These just unplug so you can wire them up nicely. All right. Now we're kind of free from the power supply. That's the only thing connected to the power supply, is just that. The lights don't need to be connected at all. For these, this is how I have it connected. So you see V plus and V plus. So all the red are gonna go to this line right here. This single line, you can see. For all of these three, they're gonna go into this V plus. All of the black, they're gonna individually go to R1 or L1. So you can see these are kind of multiple. We're just gonna focus, this is for red, green, blue. This is if you're hooking up like LED tape, which we're not today. We're gonna use the L's up here because this is gonna count up, and we're only using one kind of channel per se. So L1, I connected to the first output over here, which is just the negative of the black is just connected in there. And then for the next one, I connected the next black wire. L3, I connected the next black wire. And then it kind of goes in banks here. So this whole bank can just come out here. And this is three of the blinder lights that I call them, the off-road lights. So then here, I have all the V's. So all the red go into the V pluses right here. And then all of the blacks, which are the kind of the negatives, go into, each one goes into a separate one. All of the reds go into V plus. So L4 is the fourth output, L5 is the fifth output, sixth output, L6, and these are all each individual of the blacks. So you can just kind of see that there. That's what I'm doing. I just snipped the data wire on these pigtails. And then this one, since there's only one, it's just one going into V plus, one going into L7 here. And again, these can be removed here. I'm just gonna go ahead and remove them so I can go ahead and show you this board a little bit more. So this board here is a DMX controller. It accepts 5 through 24 volts, so it's very versatile. So you could do these with 5-volt off-road lights as well if you're using 5 volts, but we're not today. So I went ahead and did 12 volt, and then it just fits nicely with the other power supplies. So you can kind of see here that these can go up to a maximum of 12 kind of inputs here. So we could have 12 off-road lights running off this one controller. And if this isn't sufficient enough, I know there's ones that go up to like 64, stuff like that. So definitely a lot of flexibility. All right, so before we actually go in and go into the Xlights config, I need to show you how to connect that Ethernet port on that controller, that DMX controller, to the actual Pixel controller. So this is a Holiday Coral controller, and you can do this with Falcon, you can do this with Culp controllers, stuff like that, as long as they have a DMX out. So this right here is its DMX port right here. On just this specific controller. It might not be the same for everyone. I know it's not the same for everyone. So how I wired this, I'm not going to be able to get a good shot of it, but I wired it, here, let me go and bring it up closer to the camera here. So I wired it in a very specific way here. And I'm going to go ahead and put a diagram up on screen. I followed a tutorial from someone else that did this, so I'll leave links to their video in the description, but I'll put up their diagram on screen right now, and this is how I wired this for this. What this is, I have a little coupler here. All right, so this is just a normal Cat5e cable that I went ahead and terminated this end here, and then I did the specific pinout for each of these. According to the diagram that's on screen, like I said. For this DMX port diagram, you'll want to pay attention to the D+, the D-, and the ground on your controller. And this is the orientation that you'll have to go ahead and wire this to. Pay close attention to this diagram, so you'll see that the orange and the white wire connect to the D+. The straight orange wire will connect to the D-. And then the brown, white, and then the brown will connect to the ground. You'll want to go ahead and make sure that this is right, or this won't be controlled like this. And then this end is just a normal RJ45. This end, what I will go ahead and do, you can plug directly into that DMX controller that I showed you. But This is a very short cable, as you can see. This is the one I did for testing, and I really didn't want to redo this pin out here. So what I went ahead and did is I just took one of these couplers. This was actually like a keystone for networking. But I went ahead and just popped that on there. And what that allowed me to do is just connect a normal Ethernet cable, whether it was Cat5 or Cat6, and run an extension to the actual controller, and this worked perfectly. So this is what I did for Halloween season. It worked fine. I would recommend actually terminating this, but then you have a really long cable depending on how far from your controller you're going to set that that other DMX controller that's controlling the off-road lights. Mine was about 50 feet away, so this was the option that I chose to go ahead and get that connected. Now we can go ahead and go into Xlights, and I can show you the config on how I set it up and then how I push it to this controller to make the lights flash. Let's go ahead and check it out.
Alrighty, so we're here in Xlights, and I have my controller set up here. This is the Holiday Coro controller right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It's going to open up the visualizer here. I'm going to go ahead, there we go. Box size a little bit bigger here. And then, so I have some props and stuff on my controller, yada, yada, yada. So down here at this serial port, this is the DMX port on my current Holiday Coro controller. If we go into like the Culp 16, scroll down, there are 2 DMX serial ports. So mainly it's going to show up as a serial port, but you want to check your controller's manual to make sure that it has a DMX port. I know some of them don't. Let's go ahead and set up the model here. So this is my layout here. And here you see that I just have a single node. So I went ahead and clicked on this DMX button up here. So I went ahead and clicked that. And then I clicked just floodlight. All right. And I'm going to go and drag one. There we go. So this is the floodlight that I just created. So each individual light is going to be its own separate prop. So you see up here, I have multiple different blinder lights, etc. So this is our new one that we just created. And the number of channels is going to be 1, because we're only using one of the channels. There's going to be no presets. There's not going to be a red channel, a green channel, a blue channel, because those are, we don't have a possibility of changing the color. The white channel, though, is going to be number 1. And this is going to be for our first output here. All right. So each one is going to have the same exact config. It's going to say number 1, shutter open value, number 1. You can play with display the beam length, stuff like that. So you're just going to go ahead and set this up. So let's go ahead and set this up. So this is going to be number 1 channel, 1 channel. It's going to be 0 for that, 0 for the red, 0 for the green, 0 for the blue. This white channel here, we're going to go ahead and put it as 1 because that's the value we want it to be. The shutter open threshold is going to be number 1, and this can go like that. So this is it set up. So I'm just going to call this test blinder light. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and click save. And then you can just go ahead and copy and paste this. So just Control C, Control V, and place these all over your display. You see that I have 4 in here right now. I'm going to go ahead and delete these for the demo here. But I went ahead and have 4 here. So 2 above my garage, or I'm sorry, 6. I have 2 above my garage, and then 2 above each window here. How I mount those is I actually use some EMT pipe clamps that just clamp onto how we rig our windows. Maybe I'll do a video about that. It's going to be interesting how we're kind of revamping that. Anyways, so we have all of these here. I just named them because I like to be organized here. So let's go ahead and go into the controller tab here. Back to the controller tab. We were already in it, but then click the visualize button. We're going to scroll all the way down to the serial ports that I was talking about before. And then along the side, you're going to see your blinder lights. They might be down depending on how you name them, etc. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put them in the order that we want them in. So what is port 1? What do we want to plug into port 1? Well, I like doing things left to right. So I know that in my display, if I go back here, just left to right. So I want this one to be channel 1, this one to be channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, channel 5, channel 6, etc. So we're going to go ahead and click on this, and I know that it is the left window, and it's the left side of the left window. That's what that L means. So that's what it is. All right, let's go ahead and find the left window, but the right side. Now I want the right window, the left side. Then the right window, the right side. Then I want the left side of the garage. And then the right side of the garage. So in here, it will say all the different channels, and this channel thing right here should say the number of channels that you have, or number of lights you have. If it doesn't, then you're doing something wrong here, but this channel is right here. Should say the number of lights you have, which I have 6. So when we're done with that, you can go ahead and exit out here. Hit save, click upload to output. Mine's going to fail because I don't have it active at the moment. But once you do that, your lights will start lighting up when you go ahead and do a show. This is trying to push a config, so it's freezing up at the moment. But once this is done freezing, I'll go ahead and show you a sequence that I've done with these. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and go in the sequencer here. And I'm going to go ahead. Do I have just one with the blinding lights? I don't. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down just till I see these blinders. I have them in a group here because I sometimes flash them all on, all off, but I sometimes do different effects here. And how you program these is you just drag on a white effect, basically. So this is going to turn them on. My view's over here. This is going to just turn them on. You can fade them in and out because they're dimmable. You can even... Oh, I just removed that. That is not what I wanted to do. You can even like strobe them. I don't think I do that in this sequence though. I hesitate on using them a lot because I don't want to give anyone a seizure. I'm not trying to do that. But anyways, so some of the favorite parts. This is Devil Down to Georgia. Devil Went Down to Georgia by it was a free sequence that someone did for like a Halloween horror or something. But I went ahead and programmed these blinder lights. Let me show you how the it's done. So just different things like programming them all, just flashes of like on beats and stuff that I like to do, but you can program however you like. At the main end here, I get crazy with them. I like doing that. I'm going to go ahead and turn this up here because it's a little loud here, or a little quiet. So at the end here, I program a bunch. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and play it for you, and you can go ahead and watch here. It looks really cool in the yard with that. I'm going to go ahead and render this real quick so you can see the whole kind of preview with all the lights and stuff. Of course, you might not have my exact setup, but just to give you an example here. So it looks really cool, and I'm really proud of what it has become. Again, it's quite cheap, and it really gives a nice effect, in my opinion. Might not be for you, might be for your display. But anyways, that's how I did it. If you're interested in doing it, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. I'll try to respond as best as possible.
And that's it. Now you have your own blinder lights, as I like to call them, for your light display, just using these 12-volt off-road lights. So if you liked this video, give it a like, consider subscribing down below, and until next time.